episode. Where are we at? This is 5, 6, 7. I forget the episode, but we are up to the book of Theseus. I believe it's episode 6. So this episode starts. We pick up immediately where we last left off with Jennifer, new Jen, coming out of the pod. And that's why the episode is called the Theseus ship. If you have a ship, and they did the same thing in WandaVision with the two visions. If you have a ship and then the ship gets destroyed and you use parts of the new ship, if you use parts of the damaged ship to build a brand new ship, is the brand new ship now the ship of Theseus, or is it the old one? The question, the answer to that is they both are, because they were both comprised of all the same materials. So when Jennifer comes out of the pod, because a lot of people, and this is so weird to me, because like over the last week, a lot of people were very accepting. They were just like, wow, like the shift was great. Like they liked the twist at the end. They liked the whole thing. A lot of people were very angry, by the whole thing. And I don't know. It's because there are a lot of people that don't know China Anne McClain quit the show. And so I can understand that to them, the new Gen switch was a surprise to them, because they have no idea what's going on. And then there are a lot of people where they're upset by the change, simply because like they're a fan of China Anne McClain. And that's fine too, because if you were a fan of her as an actress and she's gone, then of course you're going to be upset because your favorite character, your favorite actress is gone. But let's not forget here, she chose to quit the show. It's not like they fired her and like forcibly replaced her, so now everybody's mad at the studio. People are upset with the studio, and I saw a lot of hate, towards like this, towards like the CW and the makers of Black Lightning. But I'm like, it's not their fault she quit. They have a lot of story that they want to tell with the Jennifer Pierce character, with the Lightning character, and they're not just gonna like bury the character just because the actress made a decision to leave the show. So in the most comic book way possible, they found a way to keep the character alive and still allow China Anne McClain to make her exit. And, we wish her all the best, because, again, we all still love the, China Anne McClain and the original Jennifer. So the new Jen comes out the pod, and it's still Jennifer. She's looking at everybody, and she's just like, yo, why everybody looking at me like that? Everybody's like all crazy. And then Jeff ruined the whole thing where he was like, who the hell are you? Where's my daughter? I was like, damn. And I was like, here we go. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. And then, Jen, and she's just like, oh, what the hell, and then TC showed her her image, like in a mirror, and then he was like, I'm gonna show you something. He was like, yo, but when I show you this, don't freak out. So of course she freaks out, she starts screaming because, and then, Gamby and Lynn, they're, they're the designated doctors, like they're the science geeks on the team. They're trying to figure out what happened. And, Lynn said, it's, and I said this last week, it's basically DNA, because the girl went into outer space, her body exploded. They had to put her particles back together. And, when you do that, DNA can be rewritten. It's almost like if you, like they tell you this on The Flash, when it comes to Barry going through time and changing things in the timeline. If you break time and then try to put it back together, you may put it back together, but it's not going to be the same that it was, when you first left it. There's different types of DNA, like they said with twins. Like you have two people that are like fraternal twins, for Christ's sake. Fraternal twins share, because they was just like, oh, if that's Jennifer, why does she look different? The same reason why fraternal twins look, have the, look completely different, but have the exact same DNA and the exact same genes. Your DNA makes a choice as to, the type of person, that that it comes out. So, when they put her back together, her DNA just rewrote her differently. So here we go now. So she gets upset. Jennifer gets upset. She runs away. And her DNA, when her DNA reformed itself, I guess they left her cooking in the machine too long, because the girl is much taller. She's darker. And her hair grew out, because again, old Jen, she was short, she was brown skinned, and she had short hair. So she gets scared, she goes running off. Grace, of all people, goes and talks to her, because Grace is the voice of reason in all this. And because Grace herself is a shapeshifter, Grace is able to talk to her and, calm her down a little bit and get her to see that the change might not be such a bad thing. So she comes back into the room, everybody's embracing her, Lynn gave her a hug, and she's like, I'm so sorry, baby, come here. And then everybody's embracing her, and Jeff is just like, nah. Jeff is like, nah, we ain't doing this. And then he gets, and I was surprised. I was like, honestly, I defend Jefferson Pierce more than anybody on Black Lightning. I'm always the one that's like, yo, his family treats him like dirt. You know, like they be disrespecting him. Put some respect on Black Lightning's name. Like I'd be the first to say that, but he actually disappointed me in this moment. He actually turned his back on his child and walked away. You know, so he so he leaves, and now the family's trying to decide, you know, what to do with Jennifer. Lynn takes her to the lab because they're just like, you know, her particles could end up exploding again. So we want to run some tests just to make sure that doesn't happen. They run the tests, you know, like Jen and Lynn have a nice conversation, you know, it's very heartwarming. And here's the crazy thing about the actress that's playing Jennifer now. She's able to pull off the mannerisms, the hand movements, the speech pattern. She's able to actually mimic China Anne McClain's portrayal of Jennifer to make you think that's still her. And that was a very cool, you know, like kudos to her as an actress, you know, for taking that time to actually study the previous character and try to copy some of her mannerisms to make the audience feel like this is still her, because there were so many times during the episode where I honestly felt like it was the original Jen. You know, so she's talking to Lynn, and then, you know, they're like, you know, while she's talking to Lynn, because remember a couple episodes ago, Tobias had told Lynn that if she helped him cure a friend of his who was suffering from ALS, that he would fund her research for like the next decade. Lynn and Jeff talked about it. They agreed to do it. So she obviously told Tobias she would do it. The person that Tobias sent to her who has the ALS is her Asian, I guess, business assistant, like the Asian woman that keeps coming into his office, helping him buy up the property. She's the one that comes into the office, and apparently she's the one who has the ALS. You know, when she comes into the office, Lynn like unnecessarily explained Jennifer on the table. She was just like, oh, this is you know, and then she was like, hi, I'm JJ. She called herself JJ. She was like, oh, okay. Because Lynn was just like, oh, this is Jennifer. And then she was like, ah. And then, then Jennifer, she was like, you know, I'm JJ. So the Asian girl was like, so you're not Jennifer? And she was like, then Lynn was like, yeah, well, you know, this is my niece, you know, and my niece is also named Jennifer. I have a daughter named Jennifer, so it's just easier to call her Jen. And I'm just like, why are you, like, what are you doing? You overly explain that for no reason. So and then, you know, Jen plays along, and she's like later auntie, because she's like, this is downstairs to pick me up. You know, so Lynn ends up running the tests on the Asian woman. And then, you know, after she runs the test, she finds out that the Asian woman is a meta. Jeff, meanwhile, he ended up having a conversation with the cop dude who, you know, I can't remember this dude's name, Henderson's understudy dude. They end up having a conversation, and he tells him that, you know, the police chief, she's actually like on a rampage where she's going to start kicking down people's doors without a warrant. Jeff was talking to Gamby, and Gamby said that the person who actually killed the mayor shot him in the head from over like 4 miles away on top of a building. So then when Jeff's talking to the detective, you know, he showed him the bullet that apparently killed him, that killed the mayor. And then he said that the bullet was magnetized. They found out that the bullet was magnetized. So he said that there was a metahuman that has magnetic abilities that he or she used their magnetic power to, you know, to hurl that bullet at the mayor and blame it on Lala and on the 100 gang. So now Jeff goes back to Lynn, because when Lynn was just like, hey, Jefferson, she was like, you know, this person Tobias sent me, you know, she does have ALS, but she's also a meta. And then Jeff was just like, well, does she have electronic powers? And then, you know, and then she was just like, no, we're going to have to do a test to find out. So then he was like, all right, cool, run the test. And then Lynn is just like, well, in order for us to run the test, I'm going to have to use her DNA into a meta booster, and I'm the only person qualified to take it. Then he's like, well, go ahead and take the meta booster. and then she got mad. She was like, how dare you? She's like, you know what I've gone through with my sobriety. And I'm like, first of all, was it insensitive of him? Yeah, because she is a recovering, you know, like she's a recovering addict. So the fact that he suggests that was very insensitive, though that wasn't, that's not what he meant. He just wasn't thinking. But then, you know, my whole thing with Lynn is, now all of a sudden you're worried about your sobriety because he's been telling you for the last year to stop taking green light, to stop taking meta boosters. And then she's just like, oh, don't tell me. Every time he was just like, oh, you need to stop, Lynn. You need to stop taking the drugs and the meta boosters. Her response was always, I'm an adult, Jefferson. Don't tell me what to do. And I'm just like, now all of a sudden, so now that he's on board with her taking the meta boosters, now all of a sudden it's like, how dare you? I'm trying to stay clean. I'm like, I can't with Lynn. Two of them get into another fight. She's like, get the hell out of my office. And I'm just like, I can't. What they were doing so good. So Jefferson leaves. They give us a scene with Nissa and Jennifer at Nissa's house where the two of them are having sisterly bonding, and Jennifer actually did a good Lynn impression. I actually laughed at that when she did the Lynn impression, and they were talking. She told Jennifer that her and Grace got married, and then Jennifer convinced her to have a honeymoon, because she was like, the two of you should go on a honeymoon. Back at Gamby's hideout, or whatever we're calling it, Jefferson, he pops up, he pops up, he's talking to Gamby, he looks on the news, and then he sees Tobias Whale on television. Tobias Whale is giving a press conference talking about how he's the one that gave a grant funding to the police, and he's also, supporting, the initiative with the new weaponry, and he actually unveiled the new weapon system that, he was just like, the citizens of Freeland are going to be safe because we got the new weapon system that's going to take back our streets. And then not only did he supply the police department with the meta-human killing weapons, he also said he was going to run for mayor, and I was like, God damn. I was just like, yo, you thought Tobias Whale hated black people before? Like, wait till he runs for mayor. It's going down. So of course Jeff blew a gasket when he found that out. And that's going to be his whole plan. Actually, I don't even know what Tobias' plan is. Obviously, he's buying up property. He's running for mayor. I don't know. He's giving the police metahuman killer weapons. I don't know what it's not as simple as him just wanting to kill the Pierce family. There's definitely a bigger agenda and a bigger issue here. We just haven't figured it out yet. So then his assistant comes back. She's like, I just had my meeting with, Dr. Stewart. And then she's like, oh, there was this weird girl there. And he was like, yeah, that bitch Jennifer Pierce. I was like, damn, bro. It's like, but he was just like, yeah, that's one of her daughters. And then she was like, actually, no. She's like, this girl said that she was her niece. And then Tobias ran a facial recognition scan, and they come to find out that the girl doesn't exist. So he was like, she ain't got no niece. He's like, apparently there's a new member of the Pierce family in the woodwork. So now he's going to try to investigate, that whole thing in the new lightning situation. TC now was at the Pierce family house. He's sitting with Jennifer. He's showing her videos of people that are bigging up Lightning on the social media. Just telling her how she was an inspiration and how she helped and saved them. Just trying to give her confidence, because Jennifer was struggling. She was just like, am I even Jennifer anymore? Who am I? And then TC talked her up to the point where she got a little bit too full of herself. And then when they heard the call on the radio that there were police officers that were going to storm into someone's house or whatever, Black Lightning, he was like, yo, I'm on my way. I'm on the scene. Jennifer was like, yeah, I'm gonna go down there, I'm gonna light them cops up, and I'm gonna bust everybody's ass. And then TC was like, hold up. He was like, I wanted you to have confidence, but he's like, don't be going down there busting up the police. Jennifer goes back to the sanctum, and I'm like, damn well that suit don't fit. And Campy was just like, yeah, he was like, the suit doesn't fit, but he's like, I'm working on a new nanotech version of your suit for you to wear, which is basically going to be her version of the suit that Jeff has, where he puts some electricity in the watch and the watch makes the suit come on for him. The Flash has one now. Supergirl had one last season. Everybody's getting nanotech suits now. Nanotech suits is the new wave going forward, which kind of makes sense, because you can't always explain why the superhero has to run to the bathroom every single time while people are in danger, trying to get changed. Gamby gives her a temporary costume, which looked like the costume that Lynn wore when she took Wendy's powers and tried to save Jen earlier. She goes down there, and then they have a moment where they show the police at someone's door, and one cop says to the other, he was like, hey, did you verify this address with the police, with the post office? And the cop was like, no. he was like, why would we do that? He was like, I just did enough to get the warrant. So I'm like, I don't even know if this is the correct address or not. And they bust through the door, and then there's a girl and a boyfriend, they're in there. The girlfriend ends up getting shot, and it plays out, echoing the Breonna Taylor situation. They ended up showing how the girl had a funeral, and then people were rioting, and then there were protests all over the place, and it was cool to see that. And I like the fact that they referenced that, because a couple of days ago we did celebrate the 1 year anniversary of that tragedy, and Black Lightning's always been good at referencing tragedies in the Black community, in the culture. The gentleman who in the beginning in the first episode they got run up on with the violin, they did an episode, last episode I believe it was, they did the whole thing where the guy was saying I can't breathe. So they're always good at keeping the social justice matters at the forefront, and I definitely appreciate the show for that. What they put us through, it was actually what could have been type scenario, because after they showed the girl dying and then they showed like the protest, then they rewound it right before that cop took her life. And right before the cop pulled the trigger to take her life, Black Lightning showed up and saved the day, and they're just trying to let us know, like, if Black Lightning wasn't there, this is what would have happened, because it echoes what happens in real life. So now, he saved the couple, and then the police are outside. He knocked out the cops. So now the cops outside, they're trying to kill him. They're taking shots at him, using the new meta weapons, trying to kill him. Jennifer shows up, with her temporary costume on. Her and Jeff work together. They light up the police. They knock the police out. They say, they save the community, and then they go home. After they go home, then Jeff ends up having a conversation with Jennifer. He's just like, he's like, I'm sorry that I ran from you. He's like, I'm sorry I ran, baby girl. He was just like, I was just scared. And then she was just like, well, she was like, you risked your life to save me from the ionosphere to begin with. She was like, you're my dad. She's like, thank you. And he's like, you don't gotta thank me, baby girl. Like, I'm your daddy. And, the two of them hug. But Jeff still has like that worried look on his face. So he's accepting more of the fact that Jennifer's changed, but there's still a part of him that's kind of like, swaying a little bit. Because like I said, that look he gave at the end of that hug was just really, was just really weird. Thunder Grace is still in full effect. The two of them are going on a honeymoon now. Nissa picked out the costume, and I guess because we saw in the coming attractions for the next episode, because the show comes back, I believe, April the 13th. When the show comes back, it's the Painkiller episode, and it showed Painkiller going after Grace and going after Nissa. So I'm just like, is like Khalil gonna run up on them on their honeymoon? So that'll be interesting. So we'll see what happens to that. But I'm definitely glad to have Khalil back. Gambi. He's, Gambi's the man, because Gambi's still trying to investigate these metahuman killing weapons that his booty call his girlfriend. I don't know what we call this girl now, but the woman that's in charge of making the guns. He slid in there, for lack of a better term, to work with her to figure out how these guns work so he can, deactivate them to save the Pierce family. But obviously, because this woman controls everything, he has to get like retinal scans and things of that nature. So he ended up like smoozing her. He got like an old board game that the two of them used to play. He put a chip in it that scanned like her eye, like her eye octaves. So now he has like a retinal scan of her eyeball, so he can use that to get into the computer system. But she took it as like, oh, that was a very thoughtful gift. And then she gave him the drawers. And I was like, I kind of feel bad for her, because it's like, I feel bad for both of them, because like Gambi does like her and she really likes him, but he's allowing his loyalty for the Pierce family to cover the fact that he could actually have something good with this woman. But at the same time, she is building weapons that could kill metahumans. So I see the conflict there, but it's just crazy that like Gambi's like using her in more ways than one. We'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that. And then finally, your boy Lala, the tattoo man, he ran up on homegirl that worked for Lady Eve, because remember, she tried to set him up in the last episode by having the police run up on him when the two of them were supposed to meet and talk about a truce. So he was just like, yo, you set me up, bitch. And then she was like, I knew you wasn't gonna do no truce. And so then like shots are being fired. Lala tries to kill her, and then she did say in the last episode she had to hire somebody that specializes in killing metas. So she hired this black dude, with the GI Joe samurais with the GI Joe samurai sword outfit, looking like the black kick-ass. He shows up, he fights Lala, and then he stabs Lala, and he's like, fool, don't you know I can't die? And then he ends up throwing Lala in cement, buries him into cement, and then he was just like, yeah, you gonna keep dying over and over and over again, because what's gonna happen now is, while he's trapped in cement, I assume like he'll wake up, realize he's trapped in cement, he'll suffocate because he's trapped in cement, and then he'll die again, and then he'll keep waking up, and then it'll be like an ongoing process. So they have him encased in a cement block. The girl puts the block in the middle of her club as like a memento and a trophy. They did that on Gotham with the Riddler and Penguin, which I thought was funny. And then she told the guy, she was like, hey, listen, I heard you trying to get into the League of Assassins, and in order for you to get in, they want you to kill at least 100 metas, and you've only got about 4 or 5 more to go. And then he's just like, yeah. And then she was just like, well, why don't you stick around? I'll pay you to stick around, and you can kill Black Lightning, you could kill Blackbird, you could kill Grace, or you could kill Thunder. I mean, you could kill Lightning. And I'm like, why? I was like, why is the new gen's picture, like on the table? Like, she only went out like one time, but anyway, so he was, she was just like, if you kill these 4 people, she was like, we could work each other out. And the weird thing about him saying the League of Assassins, if I am not mistaken, the League of Assassins was disbanded after Oliver not only killed Ra's al Ghul on Arrow, but his sister Thea and Talia al Ghul, they ended up teaming up together to form a new League of Assassins that's supposed to be working for the forces of good and not evil. So unless Crisis changed that and Thea and Talia is no longer in charge of the League of Assassins, that must mean Ra's al Ghul is still alive and he could pop up on any one of the other superhero shows, because there's no reason why this dude would be trying to get into the League of Assassins if it's being run by Thea Queen. So so that was it, and that's how the show ended. So this was cool. We got a lot of good answers. We're taking basically a month break now because this is like what, the 15th, and then we're not coming back to the 13th of April. And obviously the show had to take time off for COVID situations, obviously, also for locational purposes, because where in the next episode, well, they already shot the next episode obviously, but where Nyssa and Grace and Khalil are, I don't even think that's Freeland, so they probably shot that in a completely different location. And then they had, logistics and all this other BS. Same thing with The Flash. Like, when The Flash came in, it would have been really cool if Barry Allen would have actually showed up in the last episode, but since they shoot Black Lightning in Atlanta, and all the other Arrowverse shows are shot in Vancouver, and because of COVID restrictions, you can't have Grant Gustin come down to Atlanta just to show up, hand Jeff a device, and then leave. Though if he would have popped up on the TV screen, that would have been just as cool. So thank you for tuning in. Let me know what you think so far. Now that you've actually seen New Jen in action, what do you think of her performance? Are you still on the fence? Are you accepting? I mean, I love it. I enjoy it. I completely understand it. I love her, I love her portrayal of the character, and I look forward to, seeing more, but hey, that's just me. Let me know what you think. Check me out on the Otakus and Geeks Podcast, where I do it with Justin, Sean, Gotham Geek Girl Nadia. We are doing a review of the Justice League Snyder Cut. I'm going to do my personal review for the Snyder Cut. I'm probably going to do it in 4 pieces, but then I'm going to go on a podcast with the other 3, and we're going to talk about it as a group. I'm going to post both my individual review and the group review on my channel as well when that comes out. Also, check out Owl Piece and Notebook custom shoes done by the great Tiata David. Custom shoes that you can order online. I will put a link I'll put the website in the description so you guys can check it out. Again, the spring and the summer's coming, so if you want to get some custom shoes, here's one way to go. Definitely check it out and support. I'm a supporter of theirs because they're a supporter of me. It's all good. It's all family. So guys, definitely check that out. Also, check me out on social media, where you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. You can definitely check me out on YouTube. Leave a comment below. Again, let me know what you think of Black Lightning. Let me know what you think of the Arrowverse and everything in between, and we'll have a discussion and we will talk about it. Thanks, guys. So we're taking a break from Black Lightning for a month, but I still got Superman and Lois. We still got The Flash. Supergirl's supposed to be coming back pretty soon. We're still doing Batwoman, and then, like I said, we got the Snyder Cut, and then after the Snyder Cut, then we're doing Falcon and the Soldier. Thanks a lot, guys. So until we resume with Black Lightning, take care, keep it tight, and I'm out this